Hi, I'm Karen Jensen, and I want to tell you a little bit about what drew me to launch Daunting Discourse and invite Bree into my world and go forth with this. Um, I'm a journalist first. I worked at the Middletown Journal and the Hamilton Journal News, same area of the world where J.D. Vance grew up, Middletown, Ohio. Then I worked for the Cleveland Plain Dealer for a number of years. And so journalism is really in my body, it's in my core. And so I am a news junkie and I watch news all the time. I read it all the time. I get all kinds of breaking news alerts. Um, I just absorb myself in it to the point where my therapist says that I have a problem. But I really feel that it's important to stay civically engaged, and I go off the deep end with it. Civically aware, I should say. I have not been civically engaged in the way that Bree has, and that's part of what I admire about her. Um, so after journalism, I went into law and I practiced at a very large law firm. And so I'm very aware of the issues that are happening with law firms right now. I'm very aware and following the issues that are happening with the court system and, kind of the back and forth of the appeal process and what Trump's interpretation of rulings are and what have you. And I'm also a stockholder, as I mentioned in another video, and I've lost a tremendous amount of money. I've talked with friends who have lost their jobs through the Doge cuts, and let me just talk about the Doge cuts for a second too, because those are. I come from the AI world over the past couple of years, and I've been watching Elon, is how he pronounces his name, Musk for many, many years. I actually read a book about his early life when I was moving from law into startups because I wanted to see what the startup life was like. And I remember reading about him sleeping under his desk and all that kind of craziness. But I know that he is the right man to identify the um, opportunities for reducing the federal government and for identifying fraud. What concerns me is the infrastructure that's not in place around these cuts. Like normally in a reduction in force in a technology company or in a large company, there would be placement services available for people that lost their jobs, and there would be, um, just mechanisms in place to make sure that we weren't letting go tens of thousands of Americans with no path for them. So the path I see is in AI. And I was so excited, Vice President Vance, when on the second day in your first most important speech, which I watched in real time, you said that we would have AI in our schools. And what I want to know is 90 days in, where is that? Why don't we have our kids learning AI right now when you and clearly President Trump believe that AI is the future, building all of our infrastructure all over the world? We should be, instead of stressing about what our future holds, be in the thick of training from Microsoft and Google and Amazon and OpenAI. All of these companies need to be coming together and offering free training so that we can scale and be ready for what you're building in the golden era, Mr. President. But we're not doing that, and I don't know why. And I want us to be doing it because people are lost and they're not finding how they're going to make a future for themselves. And I understand, and Bree has made this point with me multiple times, that we have to be patient. You have said we have to be patient. But unfortunately, there are pockets of this country that can't afford to be patient because they're hanging on the edge. They are living paycheck to paycheck. And if they lose their paycheck because they've been laid off or their government contract has been canceled or they can't get the supplies they need in the supply chain, that creates tremendous, really individual suffering. And so I thought, like, how am I going to help with this uh, possibility? And so this problem. So I go back to sort of what I learned with product-led growth in technology companies. You remember during the Zoom phase of COVID, where You never used Zoom before until somebody invited you to join, and somebody then, invited you to join. So Zoom went viral on its own, and that's what we want to do with Daunting Discourse. That's why I believe that having a Facebook page in every zip code and using ChatGPT to create a prompt that aggregates all of the placement services in the zip code, all of the resources that are available from a job placement perspective, mental health services, free meals, um, all kinds of support we have in all of our small towns across this country. But getting access to what that is, what is available, it's near impossible because all of the small newspapers are going away. Uh, Facebook is a source of anxiety in our own community, I would say, in many ways. Like, people are afraid to share what they need or ask for help because they will be judged. And that's why Daunting Discourse has these rules about not disrespecting anybody who participates in our socials, not name calling anybody in our socials. I'll let you make jokes about Karen, but don't name call otherwise. And and really just being a resource for each other about what is available. I went down to the protest on Saturday, and I'll say this and then I'll conclude. I saw people red, black, white, yellow, all kinds of problems. They, some of them have layoffs. Some of them were like me, who've lost money. Some of them were farmers in our town. I saw all kinds of people there. And so it was very difficult for me. I kind of stood in the background and watched, and I took some video and took some pictures that I will share with Bree. But I was also just very aware of the fact that there were all of these individual people standing together, protesting and uniting over protest, uniting over hands up, hands off, I'm sorry, hands off, yet not, having to go back home to their houses without another resource to help them with all the other things that are going on in their lives. So that is what Daunting Discourse is. That is why I want a Facebook page in every zip code. That is why I want a ChatGPT prompt that aggregates all of these resources by zip code. So we have a pinned post in every Facebook page in every zip code that has these resources. So people don't have to wonder if there's a measles outbreak in your town, which I saw in one place in Michigan today. That's the kind of thing that should be in the Daunting Discourse Facebook page. So that's why I founded this. This is the work of my life. This is inconvenient for me, but I think it is incredibly important. Please consider donating to help support us build out a staff so that we can really, truly make this go viral and let us all help put down our swords. Thanks.
Oh, Karen, hey.
Yes. Hi.
So is there anything about the First Amendment?
Well, I was a First Amendment attorney, actually. And so, yeah, I think that'll be a great topic for us, Bree, is that we talk about, this tension in the First Amendment that we have right now. I had the good fortune of being a First Amendment attorney for a very short period of time where it was actually very active, and I got to represent the New York Times in a First Amendment case. And so I'm a First Amendment junkie, but it hasn't been front and center for this country for very long, after that period until right now when everyone is talking about it. And I think, Bree, you and I should talk about it.
I love that. Let's do that.
Okay, let's do it. Immigration, too, and trans kids, and
Oh, you know what?
we have a long list. And
Kids
we will
in
deliver on
school.
this list. We hope to model for our viewers ways that they can have these conversations, with their own community, with their own families. I know so many families that are torn apart by this, and we really need to figure out how to come together. Bree and I are going to take requests if there's topics that are happening in your community that are really tearing you apart. Tell us about them, and we will try to have our own conversation with our own perspectives that may help unlock things for you. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being part of this.